Now, the problem with conspiracy theories and with madness and running away with ideas is when those ideas are yoked to power. So I think there's a problem with ideas which are linked to a particular organization, which takes on a sort of cultish authority. But when those ideas are parroted from the dispatch box itself in the House of Commons, then there's a point at which we start to worry, or we should start to worry, isn't there? There's an MP called Lee Anderson, who I'm sure you've heard of, and he's defected to Reform from the Conservative Party, originally from Labour. And he claimed that Sadiq Khan had taken London, or had given London over to the Islamicists. Now, many other Reform candidates have embraced his lead or have hijacked other conspiracy theories. It's okay, I think, to opt for the stuff of internet fantasy and confusion, but not, I think, to be an elected leader of this country. Not only do I think it's inappropriate for somebody in the cabinet to be spouting this sort of conspiracy rubbish, but I think it's inappropriate for somebody who's been elected as a member of parliament in itself to be spouting this sort of rubbish. I don't suppose we can do very much to stop it, but we can try to encourage people to be a little bit more restrained in the rubbish that they say. I would urge Lee Anderson to be restrained, more restrained than usual, because of the influence that he's got. Now, someone who is part of that elected representational parliamentary democracy should be showing leadership, shouldn't be around this promulgation of conspiracy gobbledygook. Nick Davis is one of these Reform fantasists who resigned from his position as a prospective candidate to PPC for the Reform Party for posting a Twitter piece, for literally sharing a piece already made, because he's presumably not creative enough to do his own Twitter content. He's picked up somebody else's and put it out there, where specifically he compares Sadiq Khan to Hitler with the slogan, "Evil doesn't die." Well, I agree with the slogan. I don't think I quite agree with the idea that Sadiq Khan is another Hitler. But he also has ideas that immigrants are an invasion, and a silent army in hotels. It's not so far removed from Suella Braverman, who already had something of the same attitude when she was a cabinet member, when she was the Home Office secretary, and when she was speaking with the security and the confidence of the dispatch box, protected by parliamentary immunity, banging on the dispatch box about invaders, invaders, invaders. And she never apologized. Specifically, of course, she was only talking to one particular area of that invasion force. She was speaking about an invasion from Albania. It elicited a response from the Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama, and from the Crown Prince Leka. And I don't believe she gave any response, any personal response or personal apology to either. So she leads the way in whitewashing this conspiracy garbage. Why? Because she has authority. That's the difference. That's the difference. So I could repeat some of this conspiracy rubbish. Maybe I do occasionally say things which are based on what I've heard or what I've read rather than what I know to be true. But I'm not an elected member of parliament, and I'm not a cabinet member, and authority does not cling to my bones in the same way as it clung to the bones of Suella Braverman. Do I agree with her? Certainly not. Certainly not. A smug and shrill voice of madness who should never have had her hands on the seat of power or near the seat of power. I'm not quite sure where the seat of power lies at the moment. It's less of a seat of power and more of a sort of a soiled toilet rim. But Andrew Husband is another one of these, another reform candidate who speaks rather freely about the pernicious nature of the COVID vaccine. And Dave Holland, another one. And Maggie Moriondo, who claims stuff about climate change, what she calls the climate hoax, and what John McDermott calls climate cult. Well, you see, the only cult in the room here is the cult of those reformers who parrot any conspiracy content, any conspiracy theory for clickbait. And some of them might rely on Tucker Carlson. But then, of course, Putin did that too. But it is not the nature of the disinformation. It's not the nature of the misinformation. It's not the nature of the content which is important, but the possibility of that being peddled from the dispatch box, from the steps of number 10, with the license of power. And that's where it becomes pernicious, and that's where it becomes worrying. And I think leaders of political parties who are themselves leading people towards that objective of power should have a quiet word with their followers. Anybody who is trying to get their hands on success at the electoral at an election at the ballot box should be more careful about peddling conspiracy, because they represent the people who have elected them.